I'm wondering if there's other like ways that you can either like get into flow or hold on to it while it's there, or just like uh it just feels like one of these things that almost only happens for me like in a performance context when
Mm,
like, you know, emotions are high, like I'm probably like my heart's racing and like, it's more of like an ecstatic experience than just like, a very chill, calm, like focused in
right.
everything.
That's a really good question. Well, I guess the energy thing, like feeling this sort of like heightened, energy that comes from performance and stuff, that's a little bit beside what the beginning of my answer is at least, which is that basically like on one side of flow there's boredom and on the other side there's like too much challenge to engage. And then there has to be interest in the subject. The first thing is like working with a subdivision that is interesting. So like I mean whole notes for forever can be really useful as a specific practice tool, but
Mhm.
that I don't know, maybe there's a flow that can come from that, but I think that's only if you really feel like you're benefiting from it in some way or you're just open to the experience with like a total beginner is, you know. But
Yeah.
I think basically the subdivision thing dials in the not too challenged, not too bored. But then there's another interest level thing where, like, for example, if we're playing over A major 7 to D major 7, for a lot of people, just exploring the sounds of the scale is like already new. Some of my students who, I don't know, I have some students who are really into how, like, this is like, I'll turn on my live performance. Like,
Sure.
this is like a very simple sound over the A chord, but then over the D chord, all of a sudden it sounds like American football or like Midwest, like emo twinkly music or something. And so they can just get so much like joy from that, which is really cool for me to see that they'll keep on kind of improvising with the major scale, and they might even just hang out on a couple of notes, which is cool. But I think that there's another level of engagement that goes beyond that where you start to really be able to pay attention to the differences between the two chords, be able to track how really the major scale becomes like the Lydian mode when the D chord shows up. Like it's all the same notes, but it's actually kind of like a different, they all have different functions. So it basically becomes D Lydian. If you don't know that much about that, then don't worry about it yet because we're going to get to it.
Yeah.
Like once you start to be able to get your hands on those things, not only know the personalities of the notes in the scale as the scale, but start to be able to really articulate the differences between the chords, this whole new level of possibilities for discovery and therefore kind of like possibilities for flow starts to show up, where you start to really pay attention to how one note changes personality when the chords change. You start to like sustain ideas that maybe maintain tension over both chords. You start like holding tensions in funny places and like, so I guess for me that's kind of how I try to get into flow, is by like trying to pose some kind of exciting challenge for myself. Another kind of fun thing that you can do that I think applies for any skill level is applying some sort of like contour goal for an improvisation. So like maybe you're going to say like I want to try for a while to just play like an ascending line. I'm not just like the major scale straight up, but like I'm just going to play a line that keeps on climbing for as long as I can make it climb. And so like I haven't done this in a minute. So I'm just kind of playing this line for a long time and I'm discovering all these little things along the way. So I'm not just playing the scale. I'm like, how can I jump back lower into the register of the scale and play something that pushes up even further so that each new note feels like a discovery. So that's like just a sort of shape thing, that can be really fun, and keeps me engaged. And I'd like to do that like when I was playing with like practicing jazz tunes that were like, there's this one called Cyclic Episode that I spent like forever working, or like a long time, like okay, like 4 months or something working on, where just the first four measures are,
That may as well be for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. B flat minor 7, D flat minor 7, E minor 7, G minor 7. That's the first
Okay.
four bars. And so just trying to play those changes was like it was not it like it wasn't rocket science, but it was a lot of material that I had not practiced before. So just
Yeah.
voice leading all those chords, there were so many solutions, but eventually it was so fun to be able to try to like stay in one part of the fretboard and navigate all of those changes, or
Mhm.
move across the fretboard, try to do it on one string. And so by giving myself, those are more fretboard challenges than like shape challenges, but that can be fun. Something also that I'm excited to get into. This might be stuff that comes up a little bit later in the whole kind of create interesting music program than the very kind of early fretboard freedom stuff. But like something that I'm really excited about, that I'm really chasing constantly in my own music making, is having some kind of like vision for like what I want the music to be like that I'm making, and then trying to sort of
Mhm.
like actualize that vision. And for me, thinking in words is very helpful. So I'll try to like describe something like in language before I try to actually make it, and that helps me
Mhm.
really get the vision like more clear. And so if you have like, even trying to think of like ideas for a solo, like what if there was like a solo that did this, but you're describing it in terms of how it's using register or open strings or like slides or something, then you start to
Yeah.
pose these things are really like creative vision, and then you can start to use those as ways to get engaged with what you're playing on the fretboard. So these are all solutions that I don't know, that I like to use
I
for
like
flow
that.
state.
Yeah. 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 That gives me some things to think about.